When I began this show, I decided that I wanted to share with you how the world looks from my perspective as a medium. And I do shows that are solo and dedicated toward sharing that perspective and deepening your mediumistic and psychic abilities. But the show has really grown not only to share the perspectives of other psychics, astrologers, energy workers, etc., but to just give a broad perspective on what life looks like for those of us that wish for positive change in the earth. So the show has also become about connection. It's become about connection in the sense that we're enhancing our connection to ourselves, to those beings that are unseen and those in spirit, to each other as a part of a world community, and to the earth that we live on. And today's guest is going to be talking to us about Gaia, the Earth Mother, and the Divine Feminine. Her name is Mare Cromwell. She's a multi-award-winning author. She's an international speaker, a healer, and a Gaia mystic. I met her through my friend Joy Truskowski, a mutual friend of ours, who is the musician that came on the show and talked about how her songs evolved from dreams that she had. And her books are The Great Mother Bible, Messages from Mother, Earth Mother, and If I Gave You God's Phone Number. She was just publishing that one, If I Gave You God's Phone Number, when we met. And contrary to the opinion that you might jump to, it's not a narrow definition of God from any particular perspective. Her people that she interviewed came from so many different perspectives and backgrounds, ages, ethnicities, and it's a fascinating book. She has studied with Native American teachers for 20 years, and she participated for 3 years on the World Council for Wisdom. She leads workshops on abundance and hope, and sacred silliness, which you just have to smile when you hear that. I think that the divine has a sense of humor for sure, and I also know that when we laugh, our vibration raises, so I'm sure that those workshops are fascinating and tremendously fun. She produced the Great Mother Wisdom Gathering in 2014, and she loves to be involved in sacred water ceremonies, and she's a sacred gardener. Mare, I would just like to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm really honored to be here with you because we had been talking about doing this for a while. So I love that this is happening, and I'm just honored that you invited me.
Oh, you're so welcome, and I'm honored you agreed to come on the show, so it's equal there. I know that some of our listeners are very well educated about what the divine feminine is, and others not so much. Some may know, sort of the basic sort of, I guess, Father Sky, Mother Earth thing. Tell us a little bit about the concept of the divine feminine. Give us a background.
Oh my, that's such a big question.
I know, right?
We have 4 days for this interview, right?
Right, yes.
Gosh, usually I start out by talking about Earth Mother and who she is, but yeah, the divine feminine. Okay, well, in a nutshell, I'm going to launch right into some succinct definition here and try the best I can. The divine feminine is, first of all, found within all of us, men and women. We all embody the feminine and the masculine, and we all have divine aspects of ourselves, our God, goddess self, whatever you want to call it. The way I look at it now is that the divine feminine is an inherently huge aspect of the universe that is the feminine angle on the great mystery. And depending on what tradition you have grown up in or you're studying now, you may define the divine feminine as the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, or maybe Kuan Yin, or maybe Durga from Hindu traditions, Kuan Yin's from Buddhist traditions. But the divine feminine is an inherently different energy than, say, the divine masculine. and there are a lot of people who probably disagree with me. And you know what? It's like this is all part of the great mystery. So I'm going to make a stab at this, but I don't have the whole picture because it's the great mystery.
None of us do.
Yeah, yeah. And if you say you do, then I might look at you sideways.
I'll judge you.
But the divine feminine is such a beautiful, powerful, compassionate, forgiving, all-embracing kindness, and also can be a very powerful destructive force. I mean, Kali is known in the Hindu traditions, and that's an aspect of the divine feminine too, because the divine feminine can come in and need to wipe things out to start things off on a new slate. And most of my work is with Earth Mother, with Gaia or Pachamama, as the indigenous peoples in the Andes call Earth Mother. And obviously, anytime there is a huge storm and trees fall or there's a big wipeout with a big flood, that could be seen as Earth Mother's, Kali aspect.
Right.
And the thing that's interesting that a lot of people don't realize is that we live on this amazing planet, and it's so beautiful and it's so diverse. And it's so colorful. It's really an amazing, beautiful, beautiful planet with incredible opportunities to grow spiritually. And our planet was bestowed with a planetary caretaker consciousness, an actual powerful spiritual being who existed far before Earth was created and will exist beyond the times when Earth no longer is here. And that is Earth Mother. And so my lens on most of this is coming from the angle of having a pretty close relationship with Earth Mother.
Yeah, that is, I definitely want you to go in great detail there. You spurred some thoughts at my end. One is that, there's kind of a duality to all things, not just male energy and female energy, but the physical and the non-physical. And I think that when people are developing their spiritual ability and their connection first within themselves and then to more things beyond that, that those that are the most tuned in are those that can find a balance between those masculine and feminine energies. And I know some people talk about like the Kundalini awakening, which is that balanced energy, male and female, that travels up our system, our chakra system, for lack of a better way to explain it. And as a medium, we consider the chakras the interface between the etheric and the physical realm, sort of like the energy conduit through which information is translated between those two dimensions. And you mentioned some very interesting dualities also with the gods and goddesses too. Tell us a little bit about Gaia. You did briefly, but tell us a little bit about that and exactly.
Before I actually sort of introduce who Gaia is,
Sure.
And how I connected with her as to the extent that I have, I want to just put this out there before I forget it. It's so fascinating to talk about the chakras, because the chakras are a real integral part of our body and our energy body and the way energy moves in our body. And one of the things that Earth Mother, Gaia, is calling for is to not just send our energy up, because a lot of people are into the ascension concept, which I think is beautiful and needed. And yet at the same time, Mother wants us to send our energy down to her.
Oh, absolutely.
To the heart of the planet, because we need to be a lot more grounded. And she needs our love to help her heal with what's going on the planet these days. And we need her love to help us heal and ground ourselves with the energy on the planet these days.
Yes.
So this relationship is really key. So if you want to talk about chakras and moving energy, don't forget to send it down.
Oh, no. Yes.
To the planet.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. Sometimes I do an exercise with my students where we send the energy down first. And I actually have them start at the second chakra for some reason. That's just the way it was shown to me. I'm sure it's a technicality, but that's how. And then from the third eye. And then once those two connections are made, then there's like a column of light that forms around that person, and that's our natural psychic protection too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's different because, again, I was always taught that our first chakra, our
The root chakra, yes.
is the one that's really connected to Mother. So, I mean, you can play around with that however you feel called. But to get back to your question of my relationship with Earth Mother, Gaia, I mean, the way I look at what I'm doing these days is I understand this to be soul contract work. Like, I agreed to do all this before I was born. I was raised Catholic, and I actually left that during college, when I realized the only reason I was going was to please my parents, and they were living very, very far away at that time. So sleeping in on Sunday morning was a lot better option than going to church. But then I really effectively left because it never filled me up spiritually. And then I spent a lot of time at a yoga center, became a disciple of a guru briefly, and then he got kicked out of the ashram. But it wasn't until I met a Cherokee teacher when I was 36, and I was dealing with some pretty serious depression, off and on depression actually all my life, from childhood up until that point. And she helped me heal from my depression in such a way, within 2 sessions, only 2 sessions, it took that little amount of time, that I could go off the antidepressants and never had to go back on. And she was always talking about Earth Mother. And could hear Earth Mother, could communicate with her. And that was the first time in my life where all this, that life started to make sense and spirituality started to make sense. The cosmology of the indigenous peoples really hit home with me. Like, oh my God, it helped me understand the universe and my family and everything that's going on around me. But I was an apprentice with this Cherokee teacher for 14 years, and then it was time for us to part ways, as it is with teachers at times. And I have since then studied with various other teachers from different other indigenous traditions, like Mohawk and Algonquin and Shoshone and Hawaiian Kahuna, etc. But it wasn't until early June of 2012 where the Algonquin elder, who had already become a friend of mine and a teacher, asked me to do a ceremony for Earth Mother. And Earth Mother had asked him for the 2 of us to do the ceremony. So it was just going to be the 2 of us. And he said to me prior to the ceremony that he was going to be bringing her energy and her consciousness into my energy body. And he was a little concerned about that. Like, he wasn't sure how we were going to disconnect later. And I said to him, I'm not concerned because I know my life is to serve Mother. I'd already been an environmentalist all of my life,
Yes.
Professional.
I have a strong background in all that sustainable everything. Yes.
So I already had this really strong commitment. So I wasn't concerned about whether Mother and I disconnected. And the truth is that we've never disconnected. And she, as I understand it, is in my energy body. And so people feel her, mostly subconsciously they feel her. And when I do workshops and I do meditations, I actually end up activating people to be more connected with Earth Mother. I didn't even know I was doing that until some people came back to me saying, since that workshop, this has been going on for me, and I've been experiencing this and that and the other thing. And, it's like, oh, okay. So that's where Mother and I really bonded. And the fascinating aspect of the timing there was that I had just been diagnosed with lymphoma 4 days before that ceremony. And so I was freaking out when we got together up in New England and were preparing to do this ceremony. I was in this place of like, oh my God, I have cancer and this is really not fun. And what do I do now? And so right after the ceremony, Mother started talking to me so clearly, like you and I are talking here through this broadcast. And she essentially said to me, if you surrender to me, I will help you heal without having to work with any of the doctors or any chemo, any radiation, anything that cancer can bring up as far as treatments that are allopathic.
Yes.
And so, I don't really like doctors anyway. I mean, they're good. Get wrong.
The people are different than the profession.
Yeah.
Knowledge within the profession, let's put it that way.
Yeah. And I have a very sensitive system. And so I didn't want to do any drugs. And so this is what the adventure has been, is for me to surrender deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to Mother. And I've had the most amazing, miraculous healings. That's a whole other, 2 days of discussion.
I think we'll have to do that. Maybe a few months from now, you can come back and talk with us about that. That would be amazing. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy. I will say this, that Earth Mother is hardwired to heal. So whenever any of us really connect with her spiritually and energetically, we're connecting with the most amazing healing force that you can find here. She's Earth Mother, and she will send healing energy through the trees, through the earth, through the stones. I mean, someone just talked to me. I think I did another radio show just like 2 days ago, and they're asking me about, oh, well, I can tune into the stones and the flowers, but I can't hear Earth Mother. And I said, well, those are all part of Earth Mother.
Right. There are many voices, just like there are many voices from the other plane, the etheric world too. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they all have consciousness. And Earth Mother herself, though, has her own distinct consciousness. So I've been blessed or selected to do this before I was born, or whatever, however you want to word it, soul contract. My rapport and my capacity to communicate is directly with Earth Mother. And I can also talk to the trees and the stones, and everything's talking to me more and more and more these days. Is kind of getting a little off the charts.
I understand.
But at least it's not this cacophony all the time.
No.
It's not like that. I can focus in, and then I'll hear one of them talk, that tree or that stone, and so it's helpful.
And I want to say for our listeners that might not have noted that when you were talking about, picking up on the earth energy through you, it's a very spiritual energy, and to me it resonates like almost like a giant ohm coming through your body. That peace that you get when you listen to the ocean, or when you sit beside a creek, or you just have a very calming effect on people. It's a very beautiful energy that you allow through you.
Oh, you're saying that that's what I emanate?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Earth Mother herself.
No, your energies convey that. Like, it comes through you.
Oh, wow.
That way.
Well, I have a healing practice these days and do long distance healings, and clients come see me, and I guess I transmit. I also want to add this, since we're on this level of talking, I also work closely with the Christ consciousness. And in my spiritual work and in my healing practice, I do work with the great divine mother, who is the ultimate divine feminine of the universe, which is really kind of wild. And I can call in the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, and sometimes I call in Kuan Yin. So I call them the mother team.
I love them.
Yeah. But
I work with them in different ways, but yes.
Yeah. The Christ consciousness, I mean, the energy from that particular dimension in the universe, as I understand it, which is closest to where the great mystery or source is based, the universe is so hard to understand. So our English language isn't really going to bring forth the real truth of it. But when I connect with the Christ consciousness, or you could call it the Krishna conscious, Buddha, it's all the same, really. Mm-hmm. Now that is a really beautiful energy.
Well, Christ is in light and enlightened and awakened, yes?
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of people are triggered by the word Christ. So I have to qualify it always and say, this is not necessarily the Jesus Christ that people talk about in a lot of the Christian churches, because what Christ actually taught and what he said when he was alive was never written while he was saying it. And his consciousness and the energies from that particular source within the universe transcends so much of it's not about the fear and the dogma and everything else.
Absolutely.
So entrenched in some of these traditional churches. So I'll tell you this, and I'll tell your listeners, they may be interested. There is a song called Pie Jesu it's like PIE and then JESU. It was composed by Andrew Lloyd Webber. And you can go on YouTube and find also different renditions of it with young boys singing it, young boy sopranos and Sarah Brightwood. And if anyone really wants to connect with beautiful energies, I know that composer was tapping into the Christ consciousness when he was composing that. And so what I love to do is put that on, and then I take the energy in as it comes in, as I experienced it, Christ conscious energy, and then I just send it down to Mother. I send it directly to Mother's heart here in the planet.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, beautiful combination of frequencies and resonant, of course.
Oh, it's just so blissful, and it's a great way to relax and just go into, a nice vibration, however it was a really beautiful spiritual state. I will just word it that way.
Yeah, I'm curious because I heard, just before the show when we were tossing Facebook and texts and emails back and forth, that you had started this 1000 Goddess Gathering. Tell us a little bit about that. What is that?
Yeah, this is an interesting thing, and this is another example of how I have surrendered to Earth Mother, because this is a huge event that's going to be in DC on October 22nd at the Washington Mall.
Oh, so it's upcoming. Okay.
It's upcoming very, very soon.
Say that date again,
October 22nd, Saturday, October 22nd. You can go to the website 1000goddesses.net. And I just literally put the website up last Friday. What happened, or what is happening, and this is where I'm not in control of my life. It's like my credo is Mother has a plan.
I understand. Oh, and for listeners that hear this show later, we're in 2016. So that's October 22nd, 2016. Go ahead.
Right. So last fall, there was another group on Facebook raising money, and they talked about the Tibetan myth that when 1,000 goddesses or Taras unite, it will bring the sacred feminine or compassion, aka compassion, back into the earth. And as soon as I read that on Facebook, Mother has a way of speaking into my left ear, and Mother whispers, "And you're going to organize that in the physical."
I know what those whispers sound like.
And I'm like, oh. I'm like, really? That's a huge event.
Yes, it is.
So long story short, at first I thought late last fall that it was going to be in 2016. And then I was like, no, that's way too fast. Let's bump it back to 2017. And then I was working on it this summer with another woman. We were focusing on 2017. And less than a week and a half ago, Mother woke me up at 5 a.m, and that's what she does with me. She wakes me up at 5 or 4:30.
Yep. And
just grabs my ear, and
that's when the genius flows, and we know it's not us.
Muse, genius, goddess.
Right.
Anyway, so she said to me a week and a half ago on Friday, right at the end of July, she said, "This event needs to happen in DC. It's not supposed to be at some rural retreat center, and it needs to happen this fall before the elections." Boom.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
no problem.
But here's the interesting thing is when Mother has a plan.
That's right.
She helps make it happen in ways that are beyond the ordinary reality. Mm-hmm. And so things are playing out so fast with this timeline, and people keep on asking me when I'm telling people, and they're like, "Oh, that's an amazing idea," and then they're like, "But that's only like 2.5 months away," and I said, "Yeah, but Mother keeps on telling me we have all the time in the world, and if we come at it with that mindset, then we can relax, because she's already working the plan in the spirit realms, and she is. People are calling me just out of the blue saying, "I just got this nudge. I needed to call you. How can I help you? What's going on?"
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll tell our listeners, I'll link the link that you give me for that event underneath this YouTube video.
That'd be great. Mm-hmm. That'd be really great. And also, if people want to find me and my books and my other events, they can go to Mare, Cromwell, Mare, Cromwell.com.
Thank you. Apologies for
No,
not
no, that's
sending that in
okay. All the
earlier.
information is there, and there is already a link now on that website to
So
the.
what's going to happen with this gathering? What you going to do with it?
Well, this is the initial vision Mother gave me a week and a half ago when she announced it needed to be in DC before whatever the date is for the elections in November. She said she wants a circle of women around the Capitol building, goddesses. And we're all goddesses. Every woman's a goddess. You know, even if you don't think you are a goddess.
Yes.
A circle of women around the Capitol building with men as sacred guardians behind them, beaming wisdom and compassion energies of the highest order to help the Capitol building and all the political decision making there.
Oh, wow. How powerful.
And then from there, we all go to the White House and do the same thing.
Nice.
And now she's been downloading other aspects of the day, and I've been quite literally, quote unquote, ground truthing what we can do and how we can do it, because there are all these permits and restrictions and all that in DC around the National Mall and Capitol building. We're going to have a keening wall where women and men can come and just express their grief, because there's so much grief in our airwaves these days from all and killings and terrorist attacks and just sorrow for the planet. I mean, so much grief and sorrow. And there's going to be a big team of healers, grief counselors and healers, to help people release their grief.
Beautiful.
Just as we can do that there at the mall. There's also going to be a visioning wall where we can write down on little pieces of papers or Post-its, and I'm actually going to contact 3M to be a sponsor. I really am. To write down, what is your vision of a really beautiful future? And we're going to gather all of those Post-its up at the end of the day, and we're going to do a ceremony with them, either burn them or bury them someplace where we can do that, to really bring forth all of those beautiful visions that we're all putting out there, because energy follows thought, and there's so much fear these days, so much focus on what's negative and what's hard and what's terrible, that we're all myopic in the dark.
Yes.
We have to pull ourselves out and go, whoa, 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 you know, we have control here over our thoughts when we really realize it, and we have control over our actions. And the more we envision a really beautiful world, the sooner it's going to arrive here.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely. I can feel the vibration of that event, and I'm going to do my best to be there.
Well, I hope you can make it. Can I share one more thing?
Absolutely. We're headed, excuse me, toward the bottom of the hour.
Okay.
And so if you get interrupted by music, we'll just, after the station announcement, after the break, we'll get right back into it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, maybe I should put this as a station break for chocolate then, because
okay.
And we can talk more after the break.
It's always time for chocolate. Yes.
I'm a huge fan of chocolate, so we're gonna have chocolate stations. You know, and this is not to put down.
Mare, we're going into the half, and I'm losing you a little bit, so we'll pick it up with the chocolate stations. Lovely. We can all wait for that. That's awesome. Welcome back. If you missed the first half of the show, or you'd like to listen to any of the past episodes, you can find them here on YouTube. Please, if you will, subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to reach me directly, you can find me at mediumtracylockwood.com. And Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just look in, and YouTube too, just Medium Tracey Lockwood. And Tracy is spelled with an EY, Tracey. So I'd like to welcome you back, Mare. We were talking about the 1000 Goddess gathering that you have planned for the Capitol. And you were just getting around to the best part. No, I'm just kidding. I loved every piece of what you've said. And that is, you were going to talk to us about the chocolate stations. So tell us what that is.
Yes. Well, I'm a huge fan of chocolate. It's how I couldn't have written my books without chocolate, and I'm not exaggerating.
I understand.
And so I think it's really important for this to be a goddesses event, that we have chocolate stations. And I'm going to encourage people who come to bring chocolate, and I'm going to see if we can get some corporate sponsors to donate chocolate. I want to comment on something, because we just went through a break, and it's interesting, the term revolution, and some of the soundtracks and the music and the audio right during that break, I was like, oh my gosh,
so loud.
I'm an empath, like too much of an empath, if that's possible. Like, I'm constantly trying to shut it down, turn the volume down. And I thought, you know what, that is a perfect segue into what this Thousand Goddesses gathering is about. Is revolution is a powerful word, and I think we have to be careful with that word, honestly, because revolutions can be pretty hard and bloody and not always be effective, as we've seen in the Middle East and other parts of the world. But this Thousand Goddesses gathering is really about the divine feminine revolution, if you want to call it that, but one that
revolution.
Based on wisdom and compassion and balance and harmony.
Yeah, it's a spiritual revolution. I like that you phrased it that way, because they're awakening, they're opening up, they're seeing that there are other ways to deal with things. They're learning to let go of things that aren't working for them, relationships that aren't working, and moving forward toward a happy life.
And so another aspect of this gathering on the October 22nd, in addition to the chocolate stations,
yes,
is we're going to have a forgiveness wall. Because one of the things I keep on hearing from Mother is that there is not enough forgiveness within our society, within our Western society, within the world at large. And hence, there is a lot of trigger-happy behavior going on, a lot of raging, and a lot of people who are getting more and more unconscious and overwhelmed by what they're seeing in the media, what they're experiencing in their lives. And until we can learn to release and forgive, we're going to continue spinning. And I'm sure you've discussed this in some of your other shows, but the way the energies are shifting on the planet these days, with the shifting from the third to the fourth to the fifth dimension,
yes,
is that if people aren't doing their emotional work, their shadow work, their inner child work, their healing, they're really coming to learn how to love themselves on a deeper and deeper level. If they're not doing that, odds are good they're getting very overwhelmed by the energies and starting to disassociate. And those are the people, when they're really extreme and they're disassociating and they just can't handle the reality of what's hitting them and their own inner world reality of pain and trauma, they're the ones getting the AK-47s or whatever they're called, assault rifles. And
yeah, it's an expression of despair. We often think of terrorism as some evil act, and it's certainly not a pretty one, but usually the people that are at that level of personal expression have tried every other avenue to communicate that they are capable of before they get to that point where they just can't feel that they have a voice. And the only thing they know to do is to speak through their death, their own death, and the death of others.
Yeah,
it's a terrible feeling to get.
This is a very complicated conversation because, if we really look at it on an international level, and countries in other parts of the world that have been so manipulated and controlled by larger, powerful countries, the despair on their parts is pretty tough for us to understand as Americans. And I don't want to get too far afield here, but one of the reasons that
you can't go too far afield on my show.
Well, I'm thinking of the time, and I'm thinking, I don't want to lose track of.
It's all good. I got you.
But here's the thing: is that I've tried to move to the Pacific Northwest 3 times, and every single time, starting in 1994, I have been spiritually slammed back to Maryland. And I'll say slam because these really weird things would happen. And next thing you know, I'm getting very clear guidance. You're not moving away from Maryland. You're coming back to Maryland. You're going to stay in Maryland.
Hotel California.
Yeah.
Leave.
Exactly. You were programmed to receive it. You may never leave. And so I finally accept it now that I am not ever allowed to move out of the state, at least so far. Mm-hmm. But now it's starting to make sense to me that the work I'm doing for Earth Mother needs to be here.
Yes.
I live about 40 miles from the nation's capital. So for me to be asked to help organize this Thousand Goddesses gathering. I mean, it's like it's just an hour for me to go to the Capitol and meet with people, and tomorrow I go to the National Park Service mall permitting offices, and I'm going to file for the permits.
That's fantastic. I wish you, I know I don't even need to wish it to you because I feel like it's just going to be expedited because the energy of it is going to carry it through the process.
Yeah, I do also want to add there will be a big fundraising campaign because yours truly is about to put all this on her credit card.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, but seriously, I can't bankroll this. This is too big of a thing, and
I'm hoping that you have people that step up and step on board, and
people are, but I've yet to really put together the fundraising campaign because it's about to go live. But anyway,
do you have? I want to ask. I'm sorry to interrupt with a detail like this, but it popped through my head too. Do you have a website that's dedicated to this event, or should they look on? Yes,
no, that's the thousandgoddesses.net. And actually, there's a donate button on that website.
Perfect. Okay.
And even if you give just $5, it all counts.
Yes.
This is one of those things where people will spend $4.50 on a coffee and then think it's outrageous to donate to something. But this is a free event. And I'm putting mega hours in already. Other people are stepping to help organize it. And
energy for energy, light for light.
Yes.
And if you can't be there to be able to contribute to the facilitation of the event, I didn't plan to say anything about any of this today, but I just really feel that's so important.
No, I thank you for giving this the airtime because it is really important. And what's been going on within our country is really disheartening. And I want it to be clear that this is beyond politics. This transcends politics. We're not going to invite any political candidates nor spouses. No, if they want to come, that's on their own volition. Mm-hmm. This is about gathering.
And it's apolitical in the sense that it's for the highest vibration. Yes. It's not designed to back a particular candidate.
Nope.
Either. It's to bring an awareness forward.
Yep. And so definitely people can go to thousandgoddesses.net and make a donation even now. The buttons are up there for giving. But I don't want to focus a lot on that. I just want to really, the world has gotten so imbalanced. And frankly, I love what the Dalai Lama has said this spring, that we've been brainwashed into thinking that war is acceptable. War was never acceptable, ever.
No.
And this is how far afield we have gotten from being in a place of living in right relationship with each other and with the natural world around us, aka Earth Mother, and all of the trees and plants and flowers. And, there's so much I can say. I mean, just think about our farm fields. I don't know how many of us actually drive through the countryside just after they have sprayed a field and it's spring and everything's supposed to be really vibrant and green, and there's this brown field because it's been sprayed with some herbicide. And I think most of us just take it for granted. Oh, that's the way you farm, And I know a lot of people really are big organic supporters, and that's been growing in leap and bounds, which is huge. But just think about how much our cultural conditioning, our worldview from the Western society is focused on killing.
Yes. Yes. If you don't like someone, shoot them. Do you know what I mean? That's just a really low vibrational solution.
Yeah. And if
we have way more than a rock and a stick right now.
Oh, yes. Too many things that are way more than rocks and sticks. But even if you don't like a wasp, the gut reflex is go to the Home Depot or Lowe's around the corner.
Poison it.
A bug killer. And what a lot of us don't realize, and I've been studying with Native American teachers for 20 years, is that there are ways to actually send love to the wasps so that they won't bother you.
Yes. Yeah, that happened with me and ants this last week. I think that's what happened. I was going to take the first line of offense, which is poison those little critters, but it was weird because I could hear their little tummies. They were like, we're hungry, we're coming in. And I was like, I am so sorry, but this is not the place for you to get food. And I swear, since I did that, they disappeared. It's so weird.
They heard
so
you.
weird.
You know, and I'll share a similar story. I had a lot of ants here where I live. I live in a carriage house in near Frederick, Maryland. And it got to the point where they were on the walls near where I was working, and they were by my bed on the bedside table. And a friend of mine said, well, you know, ants are about community. If you get into animal spirit medicine,
Yes.
and I thought, this is a teaching for me, because I've been really a recluse mystic the past few years, you know, healing from the lymphoma and writing. And so there was one, a big teaching there. And two, when they just got to be too many of them, and I was weighing, do I get ant traps? I don't really want to do that. I actually sent a message out on the airwaves. I said, you guys have 24 hours.
Awesome.
I love you. I know you're part of Mother. I know we're all part of this beautiful web of life. However, I can't handle you living in my space with me like this. It's too much. And if you don't leave in 24 hours, then I'm going to get ant traps, and it's going to kill all your nests.
Yes.
So here's a choice for you.
Right.
And you know what? 24 hours later, almost all of them are gone.
It's so wild. It's so wild. I never thought I could talk to an ant. Do you know what I mean? But all things are sentient, and all, you know, even rocks and plants and everything has sentience.
Yeah. So true.